I'm Olivia Croal. I'm a Miss Grand Canada finalist, and I'm interviewing with the Pageant project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project with you. My special guest for today is Alivia Croal, who is a Miss Grand Canada finalist. Olivia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Why don't we start with whereabouts in Canada you are? Or I've been to Canada once, but I know it's a fairly big country. So whereabouts are you?
Yes, I'm in Ontario. I'm in a very small town. It's called Lakefield. No one knows where it is, but I work in Toronto. I feel like more people will know where Toronto is.
Okay, I do. Yes, I do know Toronto. Why don't we start with the bio that you sent me? So you've got a slightly unusual one. You've served, as I understand, is it in the armed forces?
Yes,
Okay, you served in the armed forces, and you're currently working as a firefighter. Is that correct?
yes, it's correct.
Okay. Now I have interviewed, I think, one other pageant contestant who works currently in the U.S. Navy, but
Oh,
I think
wow.
I had. Yeah, you're only the second person I've interviewed who's worked in the armed forces or served in the armed forces, and I think almost definitely the first firefighter. So slightly unusual bio. So why don't we start with how did you get into the armed forces? What persuaded you to go in that direction?
Yes, I get this question a lot, and the biggest comment I get is, "Wow, you don't look like you're from the army." It's like the biggest insult because, you know, everyone tells me I should be a model, and I wasn't interested for the longest time. I did the cadet program in high school for 4 years, and it's paramilitary. You get a lot of experience. You work with the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force as a teenager, and I loved it. So I knew I was going to join the Army.
Mhm.
And when I was around 16, I visited my volunteer fire department and I fell in love with everything they were saying. They respond to medical calls, they have a rescue team. You know, there's so many aspects to it. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. So my parents, they're very surprised. They wanted me to do pre med. And when I told them I was joining the army and being a firefighter, they were like, this must be her midlife crisis. Like, what is going on? And I'm so glad that I pursued it because I'm happier where I am now than I think I would have been in pre-med.
I certainly hope it's not your midlife crisis at the age of 16. That doesn't bode very well. Why? So your parents were surprised as well. So did the army and the firefighter thing, did that just come out of the blue? Did they think it was a phase and then that you were going to go to a more like normal job?
100%. My mom, she was very confused. Every single day I'd be in the backyard doing these crazy CrossFit workouts because I was just getting started because I needed to pass the military test to even
Oh
get
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So she's watching me and she's like, "Are you sure you want to do that? The mud and the crawling around?" And I said, "Yes, mom, this is something I really want to do." And I loved every minute of it. I still love the army. I miss it so much to this day.
Tell me about the CrossFit workouts. I haven't done CrossFit for a while. I loved when I got into it, learning how to do the Olympic weightlifting in particular and these kipping pull-ups and all those sorts of things. How did you get far into your CrossFit workouts?
I got pretty far. I started from nothing. I had
Yeah.
zero muscle. I was a string bean, and I hired a personal trainer. And I had him for 2 years before I did the military test when I was 17. I completed it. So I started this journey in high school of
Yeah.
wanting to do this. And he really got me where I needed to be. I owe a lot to him. I had meal plans, I had customized workouts, and I went from being able to do 0 push-ups to 50. So 0 to 100 pretty quickly, but it was a lot of work for sure.
I used to do tennis coaching, And actually, my boss was a Canadian as well. I think he might have come from Toronto. He had that Canadian accent, and
Okay.
we would yeah, exactly, and a boot, and we would get the girls to do push-ups, and it was one of the things that really annoyed me. A lot of the time, when you asked a girl to do a push-up, first thing would be like, "Oh, can I do girl push-ups?" Now, I don't know if you know what girl push-ups are, but on your knees, right? Which makes it so much
Right.
easier. And it always annoyed me because it's like, why is the like easier version called the girl push-up? Like, girls, I lost a push-up competition to a girl. I'm proud to say we did 30 seconds, had to do as
Yeah.
many as we could. I managed 34. She did 38. Um, but what are the physical requirements to get into the armed forces? Because you said you were training, and obviously you couldn't do any push-ups to begin with, and then you're able to do a lot more. But what exactly? Give us an idea as to what the physical requirements are to get into the armed forces.
Yes, it depends on what trade. I was going for the infantry. So there is a sled push and pull, there is a sandbag drag and carry. There's a lot of running, and I do believe there's still push-ups. It was a
Right.
while ago, not too long ago, so I'm pretty sure that's what it still is. It's not so much the test, it's everything after that. A lot of people fail out during basic military qualification because we're doing, ruck marches with 80 pounds on our back for kilometers at a time, and we're running every morning. That's what really stumps people, and they're
Right.
like, "Okay, I don't wanna be in the army anymore." So it's everything that comes after, I think that's harder than just the test. It's not that hard to get in.
Did you just say sled infantry?
Infantry.
Oh, I thought you said sled infantry, as in like you had a sled. I was like, oh, to do
No.
things differently in Canada. What was it like? So apart from the physical side of it, then you said you had all this sort of afterwards where a lot of people drop out. I mean, that sounds very familiar from just hearing about military stories in general, like people such as Jocko Willink talking about the U.S. Marines, and a lot of people would just drop out. Um,
Yeah.
like I've got to imagine, Olivia, that there weren't many girls there. So what
No.
was it like going through that training?
It was complex. I felt like I was constantly having to prove myself, and it didn't matter how well I was doing. I still had eyes on me all the time, more so than the
Mm,
men, because it's not normal that a woman wants to do infantry. It's just not. It's not me being
yeah.
against feminism. It's a dirty grunt work job, and it's the frontline guys. So it's
Mm.
not really something women gravitate towards, and I chose it because I said, okay, how can I prove myself to the fire department that I'm ready? I need something going for me this young. I was told constantly that I wouldn't get hired for 10 years. So I had to look older. So I was like, I'm going to join the infantry. And it took about a full year for everyone to accept me and say, okay, this girl, she's here to work. She's a good worker. She's one of the boys essentially. And the year was tough, but you know, you just got to keep working for it. It's worth it. And I didn't look like I belonged there. So once I proved myself, it was smooth sailing after that.
Once you did prove yourself, did you, and you sort of earned their respect, or the people that you were training with or serving with, did you feel like they really accepted you as one of the boys?
100%. Some of my best friends, I'm seeing them tonight actually, Carlos and Liam, my best friends to this day. We went through all of it together, and we'd be completely sleep deprived and just be having the best time together. So I definitely miss hanging out with them all the time now that I've released from the army. But yeah, after I proved myself, it was fine.
Okay. And now I need to ask you the harder question, or the easier question. Why did you choose to go into it in the first place? I mean, there must be something that hooked you, and it's not a typical feminine, like it's not a makeup artist, or I want to be a Victoria's Secret model. I mean, good on you for choosing it, but I'm curious as to what got you into it in the first place.
Yeah, so I get this question all the time, and it started I laugh thinking about this. My brother, he did the Army Cadet program, and he came home crying when he was like 13 from the annual camping trip. And I said to myself, okay, I'm better than him. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to join the army, and I'm going to be better. So my parents were laughing and they were like, she's not going to make it in the Army Cadets. She doesn't want to be in the Army Cadets. And I got there and I was like, I want to stay. I loved everything about it. Polishing our boots, the discipline, the drill, learning how to shoot, going to naval bases. And I said to myself, I want to be the first female sniper. I want to pass the sniper course. I just loved everything about it. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I was hired on the fire department a lot quicker than I thought. So I never
Right.
got to get too far in my Army career. But yeah, I loved it.
So it basically was just, it started as I'm better than my brother, and then you
Yeah.
went and proved. What does your brother think of this whole thing? Have you told him that you started it because you just were better than him?
No, he knows. And he doesn't like the Army. He's not, it's just not for him. He's very smart. He's very deep into sports and it just wasn't his thing at all.
Wow. Okay. And I mean, you mentioned the shoe polishing. Now, I did interview a girl over in Wales in the UK, and she was talking about how meticulously they have to polish their shoes, and if you don't do it right, then you're sent home. That she was training in the cadets, and I clipped that out and I put it up on like TikTok and Instagram, and it had tens and hundreds of thousands of views. People were obsessed with this idea of shoe polishing and how to do it and doing it until you can basically get that mirror finish when you can see
Yeah.
yourself in there. So is it the same over in Canada, that level of shoe polishing?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. And the secret ingredient, I've tried everything. The secret ingredient is spit. Good old
Oh,
saliva with your black shoe polish, you'll get the mirror finish on your boots.
how long would it take you to let's say you had a relatively scuffed pair of boots? How long does it take you to bring it up to that level of mirror finish? Because I was thinking it was like probably an hour at least.
Oh, at least. You know, it depends. If you have to strip them, that's when there's
Yeah,
too much polish on them.
yeah,
You know, it can take hours. And a lot of the time during basic military qualification, it'd be the evening, we'd be done training. We just hang out and polish our boots while we're talking for 2, 3 hours because it takes a long
yeah.
time for sure. Yeah.
Do you enjoy it,
I
the
mean, I don't
polishing?
wake up in the morning, like, excited to polish my boots by any means, but I enjoy talking to people while I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah,
not really, you know, it's more fun that way, I think.
yeah. I just thought it sounded quite therapeutic. It's just something to do to while away the time, and you can sit around, I don't know, a campfire or something whilst you're all polishing your boots. It sounds like it's quite a group event. So you've talked about spit, shooting with snipers. Have you had an occasion to use spit or shooting people in your pageant journey so far? I don't know.
No.
I don't know if there's an occasion to use spit in pageantry.
It's funny because a lot of people on the fire department are like, "Why are you doing pageants? You don't seem like a pageant girl, you know?" And I just love both. I love being a girly girl and I love doing grunt work and hanging out with men and women on both sides. I just love both. I don't know.
So can you? I mean, yeah, I was going to ask the same sort of question, but can you explain how you are so in love with both sides? Because normally we gravitate more one way or the other. You've got the typical, let's say, girly girl, and then you've got some girls who are the tomboys. But it's
Yes.
not quite as common to have an individual such as yourself who seems to really love both. I mean, you're working in a predominantly masculine field, and then pageantry is as bad as feminine, I think, as you'd get. So,
Yeah.
have you ever given any thought to why is it that you love both so much?
I don't know. I just do. I love both equally. And I was fighting it for a while. You know, I didn't want to show my girly side in the military. I didn't at all.
Mm,
I hid it very well because I was so determined to just blend in, be the gray man, so to
yeah.
speak. And the fire department is like high school once one person knows something, you best believe that every single other
Everyone.
person, every single shift, every hall is going to know. And people started asking me about it because, social media, word of mouth, and a lot of, I got better feedback than I thought. And a lot of people are invested now. Like, they're so excited to watch the pageant. And I'm just picturing like a bunch of firefighters at the hall watching Miss Grand Canada. It's hilarious. So yeah.
I just I don't know if any of them are any of them coming to see you in person, because I'm just imagining from what I know about firefighters, when they cheer, they wouldn't be quiet. Let's just put it that way.
No, no. There's actually a retired chief coming to see me. I'm very close with him. He mentored me, and he's going to come with his wife. So, along with
Right.
my other sponsors, I'm very excited. Yes.
And what did the firefighting department think of your? I think it's funny, when you first went into the army, your mum thought, like, why do you want to do that? Now that you're in the army and firefighting, the firefighters are going, why do you want to do pageantry? It's like every time you do something, people are confused. So what did the
Yeah.
firefighting department think of your sojourn into pageantry, so to speak?
I don't know. I cared at first what people thought. I'm still a rookie, right? So you want to be the gray man, you want to blend in, you want to do the job well. And what I've noticed is people don't care what you do outside of the job as long as you're doing the job well. My
Yeah.
captain one day made fun of my pink nails. It just really got him. He wouldn't stop talking about it. He's like, I've never had a recruit with pink nails. And I said, oh no, Cap, interesting. Like, I don't know. I kind of stopped caring what people thought about me. And as long as I show up and do the job well, I'm not concerned anymore.
Fair enough. Can you give us an idea, give us an insight into what a typical day in the life of a rookie firefighter is?
Cleaning. You'll Everyone laughs when I tell them, but we're the bottom and we have to work our way up. We have to prove ourselves and work extremely hard. It's so critical in our first few years. There were 100 recruits in my class, and the biggest feedback we got from our instructors was be the first person to get up to do things and the last one to sit down. Always be cleaning. I remember at my first placement hall, everyone was talking, just sitting at the coffee table, hanging out, and I felt guilty for sitting down. So I started scrubbing the tiles in the kitchen. And one of them came over and grabbed the bucket, and they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to sit down. So being a rookie, you're learning, you're cleaning, and you're training, honestly, for your first few years.
What things are you cleaning apart from the tiles? Like, are you cleaning the fire trucks? Are you cleaning the station?
Yeah.
Are you cleaning the windows? What?
Yes, everything, everything. In the morning, typically, we'll get there at 6:30. We'll put our gear on the truck, make sure the truck's good to go. We'll do a truck check, a pump check, and then we'll clean the fire truck together. And then after that, we'll make breakfast. And honestly, a rookie just cleans until they get calls or trains. We shouldn't sit down very much just because we're still on probation and everyone's watching us, right? So it's very critical that we're looking good
Wow.
for the first few years anyway. Yeah.
It sounds pretty intense. I mean, most people probably your age aren't doing a job that has quite so much scrutiny on them 24 hours a day.
I know. I love it though. I love every minute of it. I'm excited to go to work. I'm like, wow, another day of mopping and going to calls. Like, what more could you want?
Well, can I just ask about the cleaning? So, I mean, a fire truck, obviously, when it goes out, at least here in Australia, if you go to fight a bushfire, for example, it's not going to come back clean. It's going to come back covered in soot, ash, and God knows what else. But why is the cleaning such a big thing in the fire department? Because I've got to imagine it's not just the cleaning. Is it also to instill a sense of discipline? It reminds me of the army and the armed
Yes.
forces, where a lot of it is just to literally kind of break you down and make sure that everyone knows that they're the same and that they have to fulfill their role. And it's all about instilling discipline, and you follow the chain of command. So is the
Yes.
cleaning in the firefighting department, is it the same sort of thing, like instilling discipline?
Yes, it's paramilitary. So everything is from the army, from the military, right? And
Right.
I believe it's because we're held to a higher standard. The public are always watching us, always. So there's a sense of pride, a sense of duty, I think, in just having
Mm,
uniform. Everyone's the same.
yeah. And how are you at dealing with crises? I mean, you're serving in the fire department, you served in the armed forces. So when a
Yeah.
crisis breaks out, how is Olivia Kroll at dealing with crises?
I'm good so far. Nothing's bugged me too much yet. The fire service is very good about mental health awareness. We do something called the checkup from the neck up. So it's all about mental health.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I've been fine. We've seen a lot of things. My first two placement halls, 332 and 114, they're two of the busiest stations in Toronto. Actually, the 332 is the busiest in Canada. So,
Wow.
which is
Okay.
saying a lot. I got a lot of my first calls with that hall, and it's all experience. I felt very prepared. I went through a lot of extra medical training prior to getting hired on, and most of our calls are medicals. We get there before the paramedics, so we see a lot, but I love the job. It's all how you look at it. As soon as the call's over, you just don't talk about it, don't think about it anymore. On to the next.
Wow. Okay. What's the career trajectory or the career path for yourself? I mean, it sounds like you're in early days yet, and you said this, I don't know if it's probation or those sort of training years would go for a few years. So is this something that you see yourself is a normal career in firefighting? Is it a long one? Are we talking 10 years, 20 years, or what happens?
Yes. So I was hired as the youngest I'm still the youngest on the fire department. I think there's 3,000 of us currently. And everyone jokes, they're like, you can retire at 50. Holy smokes. So my goal right now is to be a good firefighter and to prove myself that everyone can rely on me and, okay, this girl's good at her job. She's a hard worker. And, captain in the future, far future. I have a lot of goals outside of the fire department, but I didn't think I would get hired so quickly. So my dream kind of already happened. And now I'm just like, what do I do with myself now?
Well, from the sounds of it, you enter a pageant. So let's get into the pageantry.
I guess.
How on earth did someone who loves playing in the mud and scrubbing tiles decide she was going to paint her nails pink and suddenly enter pageantry?
This is a fair question. So my journey started in Miss Teenage Canada. I competed in 2018 because
All
my
right.
grandmother and mother were heavily involved in pageants. My mom actually modeled with Linda Evangelista. So I wanted to try it out. I wanted to do it. And it's funny because looking back on it, I was so unprepared. My interview, not good. My walk was not good. I remember my choreographer, he goes, "You have noodle arms. What is going on with your noodle
Beautiful.
arms?" Yeah, it was an experience. So after I didn't even make top 20, but I had to evaluate, what do I want to do with my life? What am I going to do from here? I knew I wanted to join the army. I knew I wanted to get on the fire service. And now I have all this experience. I have a story of being a woman into male dominated fields, and I want to talk about it and hopefully encourage other women. So, what better way to do that than competing in a pageant?
So did you have a break from pageants? So you entered Miss Teenage Canada back in 2018. Now it's obviously 2023. So over that break, were you busy with the army and getting into the firefighting side of things?
Yes, I lost a lot of friends during that period. I was so focused and so determined to get hired with the fire department and just
Mm,
be a good soldier. So I didn't go out ever. I did lose. I lost a lot of friends. I was kind of a loner for a while, but I was
mm,
very invested in my career. And in 2022, I competed in Miss World Ontario. So that was the provincial
right.
pageant, and I placed first runner up. And then I had to forfeit nationals because I was hired with Toronto Fire Service, and there is a 5-month period where you have to be at the academy from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. every single day. So there was no way I'd be able to compete. And I was
Sure.
really sad because I developed my Beauty with a Purpose project very heavily. I was partnered with Wounded Warriors. I was doing
Mm.
golf tournaments, and I was so sad, but I couldn't be that sad because I got my dream job, right? So I said, okay, next year, it's fine. Next year, brush it off. I'll be stronger next year. And here we are.
You're mentioning so many different things that I want to ask you about. Just backtrack to the golf. So I'm hopeless at golf. I
Me too.
and I don't like golf either. I find it incredibly frustrating. I think one of my
All my
mentors said,
followers are golfers. They're going to be watching this like,
No, no, it's not because I hate the sport per se. It's because I'm rubbish at it. And one of my mentors said, I don't play golf because I don't need more reasons to swear. And as
right.
an Australian, I can definitely tell you, yes, I don't need more. I mean, you got 200 meters away from a hole yay big and a ball this big, and oh, it's just so. Do you play golf? Are you any good at it, or is it just like a pastime? Tell me more about the golf, because I saw one of, I think, your Instagram. I saw you whacking a ball, and it didn't look too bad from what I could see.
Oh, thanks. That's so kind. I love golf. I've been playing for 3 years. And funny story, I actually started playing because I knew firefighters all golf. So I was like, okay,
Oh,
if I want to be one of the boys, I need to golf. I need to embrace my my golf. And I was actually a cart girl at one of the courses part-time while I was in the army to make a bit of extra money. And I wasn't really doing my job the best. I was supposed to be going around on the beer cart, and I was reading my firefighting book to go into college. So
cool.
all the golfers were wondering, where the heck is the cart girl? And this man walks up to me and he goes, "Oh, I know that book. That's the IFSTA 7." He goes, "Are you good? Are you gonna be a firefighter?" I go, "Yeah." His name's Ted. Fast track to now. Ted's one of my best friends and mentors. He is an incredible golfer, and he's retired on Markham Fire Department. So I met a lot of good connections through golf,
Yeah.
and I feel like golf is where you get places. It's where you need to be. I don't know. That's just my experience so far.
You sound exactly like my best friend. He decided he'd get into golf because that's where all these, rich CEOs would make
Yes.
their decisions. Unfortunately, he was terrible at golf and still is terrible at golf, so I don't think he'd get invited anywhere. Why do firefighters? I didn't know firefighters play golf. Is it like a way to blow off steam or chill out after a long shift?
I don't know. I don't know that golf is the best way to blow off steam because I feel like it just
No,
creates more
it'd make it
fear.
worse for me.
Right. So if your mental health is plummeting, I don't know if golf is the best place to be, but I think it's just the community and the sport of it. Hockey is very big in Canada as well, as you know. So hockey and golf, I would say, are the two big ones. I'm not doing hockey. That's where I draw the line. I won't play hockey, but I'll golf.
Why on earth do you draw the line at hockey? Hockey
Well,
is
you can't do it all, right? I mean, it's just an extra thing that I have to put a lot of work in.
That's true. I just thought, as having served in the army and serving in firefighting, from what I've seen of ice hockey anyway, I would have thought that'd be right up your alley, because those two sports are fairly opposite. One is very, I mean, golf hopefully is no contact. Ice hockey, from what I've seen, sometimes it looks like a barroom brawl. So I thought that
Right.
would be more in line with being in the army. But the golf, from what I don't know golf that well, but from what I've seen, like when people play golf, do they still wear all the funny, silly clothes and get dressed up? Because golf fashion is a whole thing. So
I
do all the
live for golf
firefighters get
fashion.
no?
Yes. I live for the golf fashion. It's the best part. I mean, you get to
That's
dress
why I
up.
play.
Right. The golf dresses, I'm a huge fan. I have more than enough. And the golf attire, it's very, it's flattering, it's nice, and everyone's very into it, I feel like. It's part of the game. It's half the game.
It's the whole reason for the game, is so we can get. It sounds like tennis. I know so many girls who wear tennis clothes and they don't play tennis at all. I'm like, why are you wearing tennis? Oh, I like the way it looks. But what do your guy friends, the firefighters who go and play golf, do they get dressed up as well? Like, is there male golf fashion?
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of male golf fashion. It's just funny because when I do play with firefighters, they're all in their, their button-up shirts and their shorts, and I'm in like a pink dress or a purple skirt or something. It's just, yeah, very in character for me.
And then you go back to the fire department, and I guess things change quite quickly in terms of attire. Um, let the viewers know, when is Miss Grand Canada coming up?
August 19th. So we compete for a full week. It's August 13th to 19th. It's coming up.
Right. So it's not even, well, it's 10 days away going off my calendar here. So how are you feeling about it, given that it's just around the corner?
I feel so prepared. I have an excellent team. I have an amazing coach. I have incredible designers. At this point, I feel like I've put in so much work and I've been waiting so long to compete after having to forfeit, especially. I just feel so ready
Hmm.
to go out there and do my best.
Which part are you most looking forward to?
I would say the head to head challenge. It's where all of us go head to head in a question and answer. And it can be anything from politics to how the economy is doing to our beauty with a purpose. Any question is on the table. And I'm most excited because I feel like that is the thing that can throw contestants off the most. So you really see how girls are resilient in the head to head challenge. And I'm very excited.
Did you say it's going to be 6 days long? 6 days is quite a long time for a pageant.
Yes. Yes, it's very long.
What are the different components that you guys are going to be put through? You already mentioned the head to head. What are the other components over those 6 days?
Our interview, our photo shoot, we have a video shoot, we have rehearsals
Oh,
on rehearsals, we have public events, we have going out parties, and then we have prelims and finals. So it's actually a very short time for all that we're doing if you think about it.
it sounds like it's going to be a change of pace from working at the fire department.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like to switch it up sometimes.
So if you're fortunate enough to take out the crown, is it going to be a challenge balancing the national title with your work? Because obviously it's been an issue for you in the past, and I get the feeling that you're a career-minded girl. Career comes first. So is it going to be a challenge for you to balance even when it comes to that, balance the two?
Well, the fire department runs on a different schedule. It's actually 7 24-hour shifts a month. So if you think about it, it's not that much because it's crammed. You
Mm,
have 3 shifts done in one shift, 3 8-hour shifts done in one. So it's
wow.
very flexible. You can exchange shifts with a friend as well, and both both jobs to me, having a crown and the fire department, they're both so community based, and I know I'll be able to juggle both of them for sure.
Did you say they're 24-hour shifts? So you go in
Yeah.
and you have to be there for 24 hours back to back.
Yes. With the same crew, you have to all get along, which has been super easy. Everyone on the fire department is awesome. I've never had a problem. We're just all best friends, and it's great. You just hang out, wait for calls, do a lot of cleaning on my part. And yeah, it's the best job in the world.
So the early hours, the late nights of pageantry are going to be a walk in the park for you because you're used to doing 24-hour shifts. Are you going to be at the pageant and like fall into old habits and just spring up and start cleaning things? Is that going to be happening when you're at the pageant?
I don't think so, but what I can say is there's this habit that's instilled that will never go away. When the tones go off for a call, it's a very specific sound in the beginning. And sometimes I'll hear it in grocery stores and I just jump and I'm like, oh my gosh, we got a call. That everyone says the same thing. It never really goes away. You just have this constant anxiety in the back of your mind that you're waiting for a call all the time. So that might happen, but I don't think I'll be cleaning unless I'm asked to.
Wow. What happens? What are you going to do if like a fire alarm goes off? I mean, here in Australia anyway, they love doing fire alarm tests and they always go off and they sound terrible, but I guess that's the point. What
The
what would
worst.
you do if there's a fire alarm test going on?
Nothing. Probably nothing. It depends on what the situation is. I'll just let the firefighters deal with it. I'm not going to be very useful. I'm just a civilian at that point, right? I don't have a truck. I don't have tools. I'm not going to jump in there and pretend I can do anything about it.
That's fair enough. Olivia, tell the people watching a little bit about what motivates you in pageantry, because obviously there's the pageant side of you, and then as you've mentioned already, like beauty with a purpose. I know you mentioned, was it the Wounded Warriors? I can't quite remember.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm partnered with Wounded Warriors Canada and Camp Bucko. It is a burn camp for children who have been burned. And that's part of my nonprofit, the ACE Foundation. So what really motivated me to do this is, I think, just being a woman in general, the world paints this picture that we're supposed to act like, we're supposed to look like and behave like. And I know if I chased after that picture, I'd not be a firefighter and I would not be in the military. So if I can just share my story and encourage women just to do anything they want to and that they can, if I can encourage 10 people, I know I'll be doing something right. And I'm very excited to bring my nonprofit to the judging panel and talk about that, because it's something I've been working on for 2 years now.
Can you tell me more about, was it the ACE Foundation, your nonprofit?
Yes. So it is a nonprofit foundation for women supporting women in their journeys to pursuing first response. When I was
Hmm.
trying to get hired as a firefighter, I was so lost. I essentially was just closing my eyes and hoping for the best. I didn't have any women to mentor me. So it's a community of women who have done it before us, to give us insight on what it's like to be a firefighter as a woman. And there's a lot to the program. There is an award and scholarship portion. So every few months, a deserving woman pursuing first response will be awarded a bursary, a course. Right now, it's a fire truck driving license, and the value is $2,000. So anything that helps their journeys, right? Because it's very expensive, and I really just want to encourage. So hopefully I can do that with the ACE Foundation moving forward.
Do you know, statistically speaking, let's just take the firefighting department as an example, roughly what proportion of firefighters are female in Canada?
I don't know the exact statistic. What I can say is that I definitely see more men than women.
Yeah.
And in my recruit class, there were 105 of us, I believe, to start, and only 15 were women. And then the class following, who were hired on, out of 100, there were 4 women. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, the statistics are lower for women. I also think that a lot of women don't gravitate towards the military or firefighting,
Yeah.
but the ones who do, the ones who really want to put themselves out there, that's what the ACE Foundation is for. It's very discouraging. The process to even getting an interview is crazy. And there's a lot of physical training standards, testing,
Mm.
aptitude tests. It's a long haul. And hopefully the ACE Foundation can get bigger just to help more women, because it's very hard.
So when you say first responders, obviously firefighting is part of that. What are the other areas that, when you say first responders, what are the other areas or other industries?
Yes, the military and paramedicine. I am not an expert. I have a team of hired professionals who know more about those two trades than I do.
Yep.
And all of us are teamed up together. I have a personal trainer, and he designs customized workouts for women who are having a hard time passing the physical training, because it's hard. It's hard to even know where to start, what you need to do, until you
Mm.
actually fail the physical testing. And then you go back and say, okay, I need to do more inclines. I need to carry more weight. And that's what he's there for. He's also a firefighter, so it's perfect.
I mean, from your experience, was the physical side of it the hardest? Because I mean, I can understand that it's hard, I mean, be hard for anyone, male or female. But I
Yeah.
would have to guess that, if you are, for example, 4 girls in a class of 100, I think that would almost be the most difficult part because everyone's looking at you differently. Everyone's already, I would guess, prejudging you like, oh, you won't be able to do this. You'll be the first to, quit sort of thing. Would that be the harder? Was that aspect harder than, let's say, the physical aspect of it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as the military, right? You're just constantly proving yourself. And we were divided into platoons during training with the fire service. And so often the guys would be like, wow, Liv, like, we didn't really think you'd come through for that, but you
Hmm.
did. Or wow, like you didn't suck. Like, and after
Yeah.
it's just like a constant like having to prove yourself and surprise people. So I don't think that ever really goes away. You're resilient and you just get through it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is what it is. I don't really like saying that. I mean, I interviewed a girl over in America, and her father was a soccer coach and put her on the soccer team, and that was playing with the boys. And she said she always had to play twice as hard, be twice as fast, train twice as hard, just to feel like she belonged on the team. So it sounds like it's a similar story for yourself. In terms of the ACE Foundation, where would you like to see that, let's say, a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? Because obviously I've asked you about your firefighting career goals. What about the ACE Foundation? What are your goals with that?
I have a lot of goals. I would say the biggest is just to continue giving and donating awards and scholarships. I feel like that's such a helpful aspect because I feel like women are already discouraged with the
Mm.
physical aspect, with getting interviews. Just a little bit of financial help here or there, it makes all the difference. And if I can refer as many women as possible to Wounded Warriors in Camp Bucko, I think that'd just be incredible because they're getting community service and job related experience working with veterans, first responders, and burn victims. So it really kind of paints a picture of what their career is going to be like because really firefighters are just community servants.
Mm.
We're always involved in the community, and I think people sometimes get caught up in the big fancy red truck and kind of the picture of it, but it's so much more than that. So I want to encourage women to chase after their dream but also be real. It's not flashy fire trucks. A lot of it's grunt work. The other day I was digging out wood for 2 hours. It was the longest process. There's a lot of grunt work. And as long as you know that and you're determined, I think any woman can do it.
What's the most rewarding aspect of your, let's say, career choices? I mean, you've served in the armed forces. Now you're serving your country as a rookie firefighter. And if there's a woman watching this who's going, I have similar dreams as Olivia does, what would you tell her has been the most rewarding aspect so far?
That's such a hard question because there's so much. I would say having a crew who trusts you
Hmm.
and can rely on you and can say, okay, you know what, Olivia, she's good. She'll be fine in a fire. I know that if I'm in trouble, like she'll be fine. My captain said that to me 2 shifts ago. I haven't been working with him that long. So it was an honor for him to say that. And it meant so much. I would say just being good at what you're doing and having the emotional aspect with patient contact. We're talking to people all the time, so compassion, courage. I think our motto is credo, compassion, and courage, and just remembering that 24/7. It's very rewarding.
It's it sounds an amazing career path that you're on. It still sounds slightly. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of girls who, let's say, aren't typical girly girls, for want of a better word, but certainly the career
Yes.
path that you're on, it's so different to pageantry. So you were competing last in pageantry in 2022, and obviously you'll be competing again in 10 days' time. Does it does it feel weird when you step into pageant mode and you do your hair, you do your makeup, you do the nails sort of thing? Does it does it seem odd at all? Does it seem more like a holiday? I don't know. I mean, going from such a high, I've got to think it's a pretty high stress, high pressure environment doing a 24-hour shift. There are literally lives on the line. and then
Yeah.
going to pageantry, there's no lives on the line, hopefully. D does it
Fingers
does it take a
crossed.
while does it take a while for you to shift from firefighter mode to pageant mode?
Ah, no, no, I've gotten over that because I'm just myself now. Before, I was very concerned about what people thought about me on the fire department. I just wanted to blend in.
Yeah.
But now everyone knows, and it's funny. My station has the gas pump, so every other truck in the North Command comes through our station. So I'm talking to everyone, and everyone knows that I do pageants, and they're like, "Oh, how's the next Miss Canada?" And they're very invested, and they're like, Toronto Fire doesn't have losers. Like, you got to go in, you got to win this. They're very invested in it now. So,
That's cool.
I would say just be yourself. I
Yeah.
love both so much, and it's not difficult. I'm
Yeah.
over the pretending that I'm not something now.
Yeah. Good for you. What's gonna happen if you win? What's gonna be the reaction at the fire department?
Ugh, I don't know. I'm ready for everything. The jokes, you that's the biggest thing I would say. If you can't take a joke, you cannot be a firefighter. That's that's what
I
I would say.
I I would say in this day and age, being able to take a joke is we're losing that trait. Would you ever
I
here's the
know.
thing, would you ever consider going into the fire department if you win and, wearing your sash and crown? Would you do that?
No. No, I would rather step into oncoming traffic. I don't know. Definitely not.
Just humor me for a second. What would happen hypothetically if you won and then the
Oh,
next day you walk into the fire department and you're wearing your sash and crown and you're doing your pageant walk? What would be the reaction?
I don't know. Get this girl out. What is she doing? Why? No, I don't know. It's people support me, but there's a time and place, and that certainly is not the time and place. I do remember actually my my chief came in to the hall. I was going through my headshots and he kind of saw it in the background. He was just making sure we were okay and checking in on the crew and he goes, "Who's that?" And I was like, "That's me. I don't wear makeup to work, so I look
Yeah.
like a you know, I look much younger with a fresh face." And he goes, "Oh, why do you have pictures like that?" And I and my crew goes, "Oh, she's doing Miss Canada." And he goes, "Wow, that's a first." It was the funniest thing how surprised he was. But every shift I see him, he asks me how it's going now. It's almost like he's invested too. It's really funny. We've I'm the first pageant girl, I think, on Toronto Fire Service for sure. For sure.
I yeah, I'd be willing to bet. I mean, I've heard of pageant girls, being working for NASA and being doctors, but I think probably firefighters. I mean, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of pageant contestants, and I'm fairly certain you are the first firefighter that I've interviewed. I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Um, so win or lose, if you're fortunate enough to walk away with the crown, what are the first things you're going to do? I mean, obviously you've got your career, you've got
Yes.
your foundation. What would
Yes.
be your first what's your plan of action if you were lucky enough to have the crown placed on your head in 10 days time?
Yes, this is a great question. So, all of my charity events are done, and we
Mhm.
had a very successful golf tournament. We raised $105,000 for Wounded Warriors Canada. I would
Wow.
say after the pageant, crown or not, my goal and focus will be in the ACE Foundation and just promoting that and doing everything I can to reach out with as many women as possible. And I do have a meeting with Fire Service Women of Ontario. Hopefully, they can help me just spread the news about ACE because I want as many girls as possible to know about the scholarships and award
Mhm.
opportunities, the personal training. We do have an interview prep coach as well. So just getting the word out will be my first priority and training for internationals with my team.
And if there's a woman watching this, a young woman watching this who's thinking about going into the first responder field and they hear about the ACE Foundation and they think, they want to get in touch, what's the best way to get in touch with yourself? Is it email? Is it Instagram?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. It's the Ace Foundation _. That is the profile. And just DM me. I have my email there as well. Reach out any way you want, and I will 100% get back to you.
Perfect. Obviously, there's pageant interviews. You've mentioned just on a couple of occasions that there are interviews to get into I think, the fire department as well.
Yes.
Are the interviews anything? Is it like a job interview, or is it somewhat different? The firefighting interview.
It's like 100 times worse than a job interview.
I was going to
Um,
think.
yeah, I actually had a whole textbook from my interview coach, who is now part of the ACE Foundation. Oh my goodness, if I didn't hire him, there's no way I would be on the job right now. It doesn't
Right.
matter how good your resume is, the resume gets you the interview.
Yep.
If you don't do your interview well, you're just not going to get hired. And one of my chiefs told me, there's been so many good applicants, but they just interview poorly. And it's hard because you're so nervous. Everything is on the line walking in to that interview room. And
Yeah.
if you answer one question incorrectly, it could be the end for you for that interview anyway.
There's a whole textbook on how to prepare for the interview. What goes into the interview? I mean, pageant interview sounds easy by comparison. What is a firefighter interview like?
Let's just say that going into my interview for Toronto Fire Services, I knew every district, I knew every building, I knew the heritage behind Toronto, I knew how many chiefs were in Toronto Fire Service, I knew how many firefighters, I knew all the statistics, I knew the call volume, I knew everything there was to know about Toronto. All the other
Wow.
applicants included, you have to. That's a very basic portion of it. All the questions are very job specific and very
Right.
health and safety specific. So it's how you answer them. There's a whole process for even one question. When I got my interview, I spent 8 hours a day preparing for it for 3 weeks. It was like a full time job getting the job, but it's worth it.
Wow. It sounds like it wasn't just firefighting you needed to know about. It sounds like you needed. I mean, you said about the history or the heritage of Toronto, so it sounds like you needed to know the entire sort of area back to front.
Yeah. Cause you don't know what they're going to ask you. And you're applying to be a community servant for the city. So they want to know that you
Mm,
care, that you're completely invested, right?
yeah. What's the strangest statistic or strangest fact that you remember from your 8 hour a day of study for 3 weeks? You must know some very interesting things about Toronto that no one else would know.
Yeah, I would say just the call volume, getting on. It's not that we hope for firefighters. We don't wish,
Of course.
fires upon people, but I was like, wow, we're going to have a fire every shift. And that's just not the reality of it. It's a lot of medical calls, a lot of alarms, a lot of car accidents, a lot of hazmat calls. Fires are actually on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of call volume. So that was an interesting thing that I learned.
So you mentioned a few different calls there. The medical one, is that when the medical staff need help getting to a patient or extracting a patient?
No, any person who calls 911, the fire department actually shows up first because there is typically more of us available.
Right.
So any type of medical call, it could be a VSA, it could be someone hit by like anything under the sun that you call for 911, it'd be the fire department shows up first. So we do need medical
Right.
training. We're just under paramedics.
Right. Okay. And then obviously car accidents is the same. Is that, for example, also if you have to help get someone free from a particularly bad car accident?
Yeah, our main job is extrication in terms and stabilization. So we get there, we make sure the car is turned off, everything's good with that. Again, this is a rookie explaining this to you, right? I'm
Mm,
still learning. And
sure, sure.
then extrication. So getting the patient out so the paramedics can work on them.
So knowing how to put out a fire is important, but it's only one of the things that the fireys do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like you need to know a lot about a lot of different fields in order to be able to do your job correctly.
Yeah, there's different trucks though. There's rescues, aerials, high rise, and pumpers. I'm on a pumper, so it's the basic truck. We have water, we have medical, and we have our basic tools. A rescue has everything for vehicle accidents. They have vent saws, ropes, all of
Wow.
that. So depending on what truck you're on, you need to know that truck. And with overtime, you can learn very quickly because you get sent to different stations and you could be sent to an aerial. Last week, I drove the aerial for the first time. I volunteered, and it's the bigger truck. And we were on the way to a call, and I was like, "Wow, like I've never driven this before." And my captain goes, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just wanted experience. This is great." And he was like, "I didn't know you've never driven an aerial before since recruit class, right?" So I purposely left that out because I really wanted to drive it, and it was awesome. So
Was he just shocked, surprised, or was he worried that it was your first time driving that truck?
I feel like all of the above. He's got a recruit, he's got someone who's never driven the aerial. I think I've driven it once in recruit class. I vaguely remember. So it's just a lot bigger and harder to drive around.
Yeah.
So everything was fine. We were fine.
Can
Water under the bridge,
how
right?
how big is the truck?
It's pretty big. It's bigger than the pumper. It's a lot heavier, a lot bigger because you have the massive ladder on
Yeah.
top. Yeah.
And there's I I mean, there's so many things here that I think this is the first time I've heard of a pageant girl doing them. Certainly, a pageant girl driving a fire truck. That's going to be a first. Sounds like you're going to
Lots
be
of
crossing off a Sounds like you'll be crossing off a whole list of firsts if you continue with your pageant career. Um, Olivia, we've been on for a while. Let's get towards the final 10. But just before we do, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey?
Oh my goodness, so many people. Hannah Begovich, she is my coach. I love her so much. She brought me from 0 to 100. She's worked with me so much, and she was Miss World 2018. So I owe so much to her. My designers, Ray and Tyson with ACAJ Designing, spoiler alert, they designed my dress on behalf of the Ukrainian flag because I am Ukrainian and I'm so excited to wear it. They put so much into it and I owe so much to them. And my photographer, Huma, he's incredible. He knows exactly what angles to get. He knows, what looks good and what doesn't. So I thank him so much for working with me.
Perfect. Okay, let's get to the final 10. So, first question, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word as a Canadian, I feel like would be sorry. We're saying sorry all the time, constantly. I feel like I'll have to go with that.
I interviewed a Canadian teenager probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and because there's a stereotype that Canadians are like the nice Americans, and so I was wondering, like, do Canadians ever have arguments, or they ever yell at one another? And she said, "Yeah, but we always say sorry afterwards." So
Right.
is that the Canadian way? Like, you might have an argument, but you always say sorry afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, number two. What is your least favorite word?
Moist. I don't like it. It's a very odd word. If someone said moist, I would be thrown off, I think.
I interviewed someone who's studying psychology just like the other day, and I told her, like, out of all, like, so many girls say that moist is their least favorite word, and I need to find out the reason. There must be a deep seated psychological reason why 80% of you, 90% of you hate the word moist. How do you describe a chocolate cake when it's just come out of the oven and it's
Mm.
beautiful and moist? Since you hate the word moist, how would you describe it? Because you can't describe it as wet or damp.
Thick, chocolatey, amazing, wonderful, delightful. I don't know, anything but moist.
Just imagine this. That's a thick chocolate cake. All right. Number three, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Firefighting.
Fair enough. Number 4, what turns you off?
What turns me off? People who are unkind. I feel like, it costs nothing to be kind. If I see someone being rude or short in a grocery store, I don't understand. Don't understand.
That makes 2 of us. Number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
The tones going off or the fire truck alarms.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The tones going off.
You can't have it both ways, so you love it and hate it.
Yeah, 100%. Depends on the time of day, I would say. For 5 a.m., I might not be so excited to get up and go to a call.
Just a question: if I got that sound of the tones, that one that you both love and hate, and you were sound asleep, let's say at home, and I suddenly played that alarm really loudly next to you, what would happen?
I would spring up and hit my head off something, I'm sure. I mean,
You're literally trained to respond to it, aren't you? It'd be very funny.
Yeah.
Number 7, if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Any one superpower, I would say, I would say being invisible, so I could be in a room and listen to people without them knowing that I'm there. I'm definitely a people watcher. Even when we're in the truck just driving around, I love people watching. I love eavesdropping on conversations. So I feel like if I was invisible, it'd be less apparent and I wouldn't feel so guilty about it.
Number 8, what job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Being a sniper, I feel like would be, or just the training would be incredible, or being a doctor, definitely.
What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Nursing. I have the utmost respect for nurses. My mom is a nurse. And let me tell you, after years of listening to her talk about work, I am so grateful for them, and I don't want to do that. So thank you to all the nurses, because you're amazing.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Good job, kid. I'm proud of you.
Sounds perfect. Well, Alivia, that was a pleasure. An interview of many firsts for me. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be here.
I'm going to have to find out that particular sound, and I'm going to find a way to somehow send it to you.
Send it to me. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the way my brain works. But I'll keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang up with the audience. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.